All right. Hey guys, time to check out oil, natural gas, gold, silver, NASDAQ, maybe a currency pair or two. We're going to be looking through the lens of Elliott wave theory. Let's dive into the chart. All right. First thing I want to do is just take a look at oil and say, oh my, off the COVID lows. Look at oil. Comes up in here. This is just chopping in a range. It's moving in threes, very difficult. If you've ever lost your mind trying to figure out how to trade crude oil, that would be very consistent with what this thing is doing. I mean, look at this daily chart. It's basically chopping in a range. There's a bunch of different ways you can think of this. As far as parameters go on the daily, you can clearly see this level down in here is very important. Price has interacted with this level many times. I mean, would you be shocked if oil can't catch a gear and get up and finally create something that looks like an impulse? Because really, I would be looking for a wave 5. Just without getting into the weeds of LA wave, it could be something like 1, it could be something like this. 1, 2, 3, and this whole thing is just an elongated 4, and we need to get a 5th wave. Having said that, because it's moving in threes, it's very difficult to track. So just thinking of overall support levels and parameters, you can keep it really simple and just identify some of these lows and some of these highs. But I'm looking for something more actionable, and I'm certainly not trading a daily chart. And in fact, the last week or two, I've been trading crude less. It's very difficult to catch because of the way it's moving. But that in itself is a clue of sorts. Okay, so let's jump down and look at the 4-hour chart. And really, what this is showing you is here is the finish of an ABC, which I was questioning, is that the high when that happened? And I put that label there. And how would I know if that's a high? Well, you don't, but Elliott wave gives us parameters. So for a C wave, these yellow fibs typically is where you want to see a C wave terminate. This extended, but it didn't make it to the 1618. And if you were in the club, and by club, I mean the Professor Trades Club, you would know that I was saying because it didn't make it to the 1.618, it doesn't, I don't think it's as bullish as this initial move was suggesting because it didn't make it to the 1618, but it did exceed where you think a C wave should be. So it's not, they're not making it easy. But look at this wick though. So then we get a drop. I think it's ABC. So then I was looking for, now this was pretty good parameters that I was giving you last week. And if you're in the club, you were getting this all week long. This wave 4, these yellow fibs could have been an ABC. And as it turns out, that was the high for a wave 4. Right, it just poked above the 100 fib in yellow. And by the way, if you're following my charts, you will know that yellow almost always delineates a 3-wave move, ABC. And when we are looking for an ABC, of course, it depends on context, but the idea is the C wave, we're looking for an extension to at least the 100 fib. And the next 2 fibs after the 100 fib are the 1.236 fib and the 1.382 fib in yellow. So I'm almost always tracking the ABCs in yellow. And whenever I'm looking for a wave 4, it is almost always in blue. So here we were looking for a wave 4. Now, an allowable wave 4 is the 236, 382 to 50% level. So you can see this got just above the 236, did not make it to the 382. This is a shallow wave 4. And what's interesting is it kind of made up for its shallowness by eating up a lot of time. This is a very, it's also possible that this whole chop fest, where are you going to put the label? I'm not as concerned about where you put the label, but I'll just mention that this chop zone took up a whole lot more space than this wave 2. This is the perfect place to just mention there's something called the theory of alternation. Theory of alternation. which is in my beginner's how-to videos of how to create your own Elliott wave charts, but I'll just mention it real briefly. If a wave 2 is short in time and also shallow, then you could expect a wave 4 to be longer in time. And the reverse is true. If a wave 2 burns off a lot of time off the clock, then you could expect a wave 4 to burn less time off the clock. So what I would say about that is this certainly looks like the theory of alternation playing out, because the wave 2 took hardly any time, and look how much time, regardless of where you put the label, look how much time price consolidated. So don't get hung up on the labels. It's the theory, it's the idea. Wave 2 took hardly any time. Wave 4 took 3 times as long. That's the theory of alternation. So then we got rejected eventually. I mean, it got rejected a bunch from the zone. So we're scalpers inside of the club. So scalping short, scalping short, scalping short. And then you leave a runner on if you are scalping short. And finally it gave out and came all the way down and tagged the 2236 fib of this inside smaller degree purple 5-wave move. So now, what is most likely now? I am not sure, but you see this big green arrow, which I put on there, I don't know when, a while ago, indicating that this candle has so much liquidity in it. Might they come back to grab this liquidity? Well, they certainly did on Friday morning. So, and it did strike a reasonable fib for this internal structure to be a completed wave 5. The thing I'm looking at is this ratio box down here, which could provide a deeper target. Now, look, remember I just said about the yellow. So when I'm tracking an ABC, I use the yellow fibs, and typically a C wave targets the 100 fib, the 1236 fib, or the 1.382 fib. Well, look at where price is. It lost the 100 fib largely with a wick, but then, it had a pretty bearish close. I mean, this is an inside candle on the 4-hour chart. So we'll watch this closely. If it breaks this low, I think the odds increase. You're going to see at least another dollar lower if it breaks the 68.72. But let's jump down on a lower time frame. And now we're going down to the 8-minute, just looking at this nano structure. So here is that elongated wave 4 that I was talking about just now on the 4-hour. This is the structure of it. It's just chopping in this range, but then it lost the floor. It never could break the ceiling, but look, here's a low. Here's a lower low. Here is a lower low. Here is yet another lower low. Now on the nano stuff, meaning the dimensions of this move down, this is the ideal box if this wants to come down and finish this off. Okay, it would be something. Now, there's a lot of geopolitical stuff going on, and I don't trade news. In fact, I barely pay attention to news. I pay attention to fibs. But it is, I'm not an ostrich. I don't put my head in the sand. But what I will say is that I've learned from my good buddy Avi over at a different website that I learned Elliott Wave at. The idea is that news can be a catalyst, but news is not what drives the market. I know that's provocative. News is not what drives the market. Okay, but news can be a catalyst. So geopolitical stuff, is this enough for wave 5 to be done? And this is the beginning of another move up? It could be. Yes, of course it could be. And even if you look at this, because of where this tagged that fib, look at the wick. Look at that wick. It just tagged the 2236 fib, which is a reasonable fib for this purple count to be completed. So what am I saying? What I'm saying is oil is hard to trade right now. I don't have much of an edge, but I will tell you, if it wants to come down somewhere in here, just call it low 68s is reasonable. If there's not some geopolitical event that's going to happen and make this thing rip at the open, because I haven't looked at the news today at all. I will look at the news later just to see, is there a potential catalyst? Otherwise, there's really 2 target boxes. The most bearish one is to come all the way down into the low 67s or even lower. Okay. Just be aware that is possible to see the low 67s. It's also possible to see the low 68s. So that's the bearish view. Do I really have an immediately bullish view? Well, no, but it could certainly happen because it's possible that this is completed down here. It's possible. How likely is that? I don't know. I have to just remain bearish because structure is bearish. I mean, I just showed you, right? Look at this. I mean, lower low, lower low, lower low, lower, three lower lows in a row, no new highs. I mean, that's your clue. So low 67s versus low 68s. Okay. So let's hop on over to the natural gas chart. Now, look, I'm just going to be real with you. I have very little edge on natural gas. The best thing I did with natural gas is call this top. Came right up into this ratio box with this structure, with this sort of diagonal trend lines. And I did short it, and I covered my shorts way too early. I had one additional short scalp, and I just covered. And I just am amazed at how natty gas, especially the talk. See, I don't follow news or fundamentals, but there's all this talk about seasonality, and a lot of guys, natty gas is bullish. They tried to get long here. They tried to get long here. They tried to get long here. I didn't. I just stayed out of it because just the structure of it is bearish. And if you know enough about natty gas, you know that it is a crazy, wild instrument to trade. And my good friend Armando, inside of the Professor Trades Club, by the way, if you are not in the Professor Trades Club, I highly recommend it. The deal is ridiculous. The amount of unbelievable trades that are happening in that club, not just from Armando himself, but from a bunch of members. But the real value that Armando provides for his members is the psychology. I'm talking about your own psychology. So check out the link in the description of this video. For less than $1 a day, it is a no-brainer. Also, check out his YouTube channel for free. You can learn all kinds of stuff for free without even joining the club. But if you want to get actionable, up-to-date charts and information throughout the day, especially right before the open and then midday and then again after the close, you got to be in the club. It's a no-brainer. All right. So now that I've told you I really don't have an edge on natural gas, let's hop over to gold. And I want to start with a daily chart of gold. Well, good. I like the undo button for when I accidentally ruin a chart. So heart of the third wave, do not short gold. I mean, scalpers, yeah, that's different if you're a skilled scalper. Heart of the wave 3, which is after this white 1-2, and then we have another 1-2, I believe, with a 3-4. Now, what I was getting at in here, I was thinking this may have already topped, and we should be getting a deeper wave 4. But I had good parameters on the lower time frames, and they got invalidated. So here we are, looking at a daily chart of gold. The 200 fib. Now this is the purple. Actually, I should make these fibs purple because they kind of go with the purple label. So this internal structure of this being a 1, 2, 3, 4. Then if we are in wave 5, ideally this gets up. I mean, I would just say the ideal fib that I can see right now is 2781. It's the 200 fib of the purple structure, 2781. And the ideal target, right, is 2754. So just call it 2754 to 2781. But I got to tell you, that's a pretty decent target. Now, look, I mean, if you already missed all this, why am I telling you all this? You're done. The next meaningful long opportunity can be once this completes this degree wave 4 in white. So I was looking for this wave 4 to have already started over here in this area right here. And I was wrong. And that also would have been fairly shallow for this degree. So it's not this degree. So I think we still need a decent sizable pullback, but not until this thing tops. So you can get another, just call it, I don't know, $30, $50, something like that. Can it extend higher up into this box? Sure it can. I think it would be very unlikely. Yeah, that wave 2 is way up. I mean, that 200 fib is way up there. So I think what is most likely is you get another shove higher. I mean, it's already breaking out. This is crazy bullish. So get up into this box and then start looking for a retrace. And it can burn this next retrace. I think is going to burn a lot more time off the clock because of whatever degree it is. So wherever this tops from, okay, if it makes it up, let's just say it made it to 2781. Then I'm not going to try to I'm going to short from there. No, but I'm going to watch and look for clues, because if it starts coming down from that box and you have, like some people call it, an initiation move, like if you have some nasty bearish days, then I'll look to short once it bounces up. Okay, but that we'll get to that. We'll get to that later. So, but it's going to burn, I think, a lot more time off the clock once this does top. I mean, trees don't grow to the sky. Price never moves in a straight line. So that's the deal on gold. If I hop down to the 4 hour now, you can see a little bit more details in here. And this is consistent with what I was just showing you on the daily, but here we're just looking at the internal structure. So you could see some resistance just up ahead, actually, $30 higher. You could see some resistance here. But the ideal target is going to get you. I like the 2780 area up into here. And this is nano stuff, so it's less reliable. And then if you really just want to make yourself crazy, look at the 1 hour chart of gold. And here we are again. The 2780s is up here. So you could see some rejection up ahead. But to me, this is, look at this whole wave. It's by the dip. And we had got some guys in the club, one in particular, Alex. I don't know if you're watching this video, but great calls on these gold longs he's been taking. He was scalping to the long side, scalping to the long side, scalping to the long side, and you leave a runner on. And basically that's called buying the dips. So, who knows what's going to happen? This is also sometimes geopolitically sensitive. So it's ripping, no doubt, and no shorting metals if you're in the heart of the third wave. So the ideal target 2762 on the lower time frames. Okay, and from there you could see rejection. But I tell you what, wherever this next tops out, there's going to be I believe, a long period of gold chopping in a range for that large degree wave 4. Okay, so let's talk about the little brother silver. It's trying to catch up, I would say, if you want to go into correlations, which I don't typically. But I would just say this: resistance up ahead, just similar to gold, but resistance up ahead. Wouldn't it be awesome if this just finished? Look at this incredible move. And this is the 4 hour chart in silver. You get up into here, just call it 30 upper 34s, get a rejection. This is another buy opportunity. I'll measure for this again once the time is right. Just for purely speculative reasons, I'm just going to kind of put this wave 4 idea on the chart. I'm not, this is pure speculation because we haven't even topped yet. It's still going higher. But what I want to show you is the idea, just an idea, that a wave 4 can absolutely target somewhere down in this area. And if it wants to be shallow, depending on how high that this wave 3 extends in silver, yeah, it is quite possible. We'll measure again whenever this tops, when it's finished, this amazing run, to look for a wave 4 and then one more shove up. And then this should be a more meaningful high, meaning, if you're lucky enough to have been long, I think somewhere up in this fib region up here is where you can take it off, because there will be a pullback. I mean, price doesn't grow to the sky. Trees don't grow to the sky. The other thing, you guys have heard me say there's going to be a day with a $3 move. Well, we didn't have a $3 move, but we did have a dollar move on Friday, which is pretty amazing. So that's basically it on silver. This I'm just showing you my rocket ship. I put that on there a while ago. This important zone has been on my chart for an incredibly long time. And what is amazing is once it got above this level right here, obviously look at what happened. So now, we can get a pullback. Actually, 33.47 is the top of that zone. Let's go back to this chart, 33.47. Yeah, wouldn't that be interesting if this tops out up in here and gives you a wave 4 pullback? Wouldn't that be something if it just comes down and basically retest what we were calling the important zone? Just from a pure price action, nothing Elliott wave, just pure price action. You get a breakout. When it's done, wouldn't it make sense for it to come back and retest this zone? And Elliott wave kind of likes that idea as well, because this is that zone where a wave 4 could terminate. So there's another buying opportunity. So, okay. So we'll just wait for this to go, and then I will put some measurements on this lower time frame. But for the moment, we'll just leave that alone. Let's take a quick look at NASDAQ. Now, NASDAQ, I've only been trading it more recently. It is very difficult. It moves. It's wild, as you know. But here's what I would say, because the best way to look at this on the 1 hour chart is impulsive. Why? Well, because it keeps making higher highs and higher lows. I mean, I know I'm zoomed out a bit here, but if that's a 1, 2, 3, 4, there is a ratio box way up above. But I tell you what, on the internal structure, this is major resistance, the way I'm seeing it, right in here where this question mark is. So now if I just kind of zoom in on this, look, it's hitting resistance. It got rejected. I've had a bunch of short scalps through here. Very nice. Because it is now coming back up, this is an important area right here, because if it can get up and make a new high here, I mean, it's already grabbed the liquidity from this drop. It already came up and grabbed that liquidity, and then it got rejected again, but it cannot make a new low, and now it's coming back up again, albeit in a very overlapping and haltingly manner. But the point is, if you want to scalp long, this is the first target area, is up above. And that's crazy, but that's like 200 points. Yeah, it's over 200 points if it gets up in here. So let's see what this does. And you can kind of see prices interacting with the 200-day daily. Even though it's an hourly chart, this is the 200 on the daily. Because I just like to see where price is in relation to that. And this did get a drop, but it couldn't get any sustained move lower under this average. And now it is back tested it and is moving higher. So, I mean, if you held a gun to my head and said, what is NASDAQ going to do? I know it's crazy with the wars everywhere and the world is on fire. And if I read one more thing about debt and how blah, 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 and inflation, but NASDAQ is a beast, just looking at the fibs. So I can't tell you what the future holds, but if it gets above this zone, I think it's much more likely for it to follow through up to here. And then if the bulls are truly in charge, I know it's crazy talk, you could see way up here for the final high. I mean, that would be nuts, wouldn't it? Totally possible. Yep. Yep. Totally possible. So I hope this helps. But the parameters would be, just look at your NASDAQ and look at the structure. So you don't want to see it come back down. If you're bullish, you want to see it make a new high over this, and then you want to see it get up into this zone and expect, in other words, buy the dips until structure breaks. But I mean, it could go either way, but this, at the moment, look, it's making higher highs, it's making higher lows. Leave it at that. Okay, bonus, currency warning, bonus, UJ. Actually, let's look at, now this is wild because looking at it on the weekly chart, yeah, I went back to a weekly chart, and I could see how this whole thing is just moving in a giant, ugly three-wave correction. And if this is an AB, the 1, 2, very ugly, but that looks like a wave 3, 3, 4. Could it have already topped in wave 5? Yeah. Could have. ABC, because if this is an ABC, the 100 fib is right just above, but you see it missed it. So could it come up higher? Well, yeah, of course, anything could happen. But let's get off the weekly chart and looking at this nano count on the interior, just to be clear what we're looking at. So see how this is an ABC? Well, looking at the weekly chart, it's deep inside of here. ABC is so tiny you can't even see it. But the point is, if this has really topped already, and this is a wave 1 down, and this is an ABC correction, then we are about to continue lower. Okay, so in other words, this weekly chart of the UJ is is providing some clues. And one of the clues is, could this 2618 fib be a reasonable target for a wave 5? And the answer is yes. And where did price terminate it? I mean, it tagged the daggone thing almost to the dollar and got rejected. Okay, and that's why I put the top, and I put that on there before it totally rejected, because it tagged that fib so beautifully. But then if you look down here on the lower time frame for UJ, I have a more detailed ratio box and more detailed yellow fibs for this internal ABC. And guess what? It came right to the top of the box, exceeded it by a few cents. It did dang on near tag the 1, 2, 3, 6 almost to the penny, and it got rejected. So now I continue to be short. I layered into shorts as I said I would. If you're in the Professor Trades Club, you know what my trade is because I'm posting it. If you're not in the Professor Trades Club, look, this is a plug, but it is sincere. If you come into the Professor Trades Club for less than $1 a day, click the link in the description of this video. The lessons that you're going to get regarding psychology, and what I mean is your psychology. You're going to be around guys that are not blowing up accounts. They're not being greedy. They're sized appropriately for the kind of trading that they're doing. We're doing a lot of scalping inside of the club. So if you've ever blown up an account, if you've ever been tinkering with your stops, if you've ever gotten chopped up, moving your stops and you finally give up and then the price goes in the direction that you originally thought it was going to go, you got to be in the club. The Professor Trades for less than $1 a day. It's remarkable. So anyway, here's the box. This thing looks like this wave 5 was the diagonal. This actually looks pretty good. This structure looks pretty good for this to be where the topping region could be. Can it come up higher? Yeah, I'm gonna allow this to come back up. I don't know that I'll add any more to my shorts unless it also would depend on what this looks like as it's coming up. If it does come up, I may or may not add more shorts. I'm comfortable with what I have, and I did take heat over here, but that's because I'm sized appropriately. Okay, so if this is a top, you can expect a lot of bearish action in this. Looking at GJ a little bit differently, kind of, you could argue it looks similar, but each chart on its own, we're dealing with fibs. I trade each chart on its own. Similar to gold and silver, yeah, they kind of trade similarly, but trying to correlate them, forget it. It's hard enough to get one instrument right. So anyway, GJ, if you've been following me, you'll know about this chart. You'll know about this top over here and what I've been doing in this triangle right here for wave 5, or excuse me, wave 4 triangle. Came back down in the B wave. I got long, came up, added some longs, came back down. I've never taken the longs off. I'm still sitting in longs. I like toss. There's no fees for holding on to these currency pairs in think or swim. So here we are. So I'm going to start taking them off if we're lucky enough to see this yellow fib, and then we will see if it can extend up into this box, which would be awesome. So that's GJ. So I just gave you 2 currency pairs. All right. Listen, if you're new here, if you like the value, if you feel like you're getting value, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when I drop a video. I hope you enjoyed the currency pairs. Listen, if you are new to watching this, or rather, if you're not new to watching this and you've been watching and you like the currency pairs, drop me a comment. Let me know if you want to continue to see UJ and GJ in my updates. And anything else you have a question about Elliott wave wise, go ahead and drop it. Sometimes I can't answer a question through text, in a reply, because sometimes Elliott wave is just too complicated to boil it down into 2 sentences. Because if you already know a whole lot, then I can answer a question in 2 sentences. But if you're new and you're still learning how to do this, just know I will do my best to answer your question, but it's difficult in a few sentences with a method that is complex as Elliott wave is. Having said that, on my channel, there's a how-to section, create your own Elliott wave charts. I highly recommend you watch those videos. I think there's 4 in there right now. And anytime I drop a video that is to be considered educational, I'm going to put it in that playlist. Okay, I'm also doing some private coaching and some private sessions coming up soon. You'll be hearing about that. I'll be doing a webinar on beginning Elliott wave theory. We'll be offering that very soon through the Professor Trades Club. But if you're not in the Professor's Trades Club and you want to participate in a webinar or some coaching, drop a comment. I'll make sure we are in touch. All right, guys, thank you for watching. Have a great opening session. And whatever you do, don't get killed trading futures. Cool. See you guys. Bye-bye.